What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Wake and Jake College Football Show. Week 9, we're starting to get late into the season. It's a little sad, but we're starting to get into some really good football. I think we're going to have a really, really good weekend of college football. Typical episode, news, notes, preview Friday night games, then go through each slate on Saturday, and then finish up with my 5 favorite bets. We actually got kind of a lot of news to get to today. A lot of small things, but a lot of news. So let's get right into it and let's get a little high. All right, let's get into some news from the week. A couple offensive coordinators have either stepped down or been fired. Andy Ludwig at Utah has stepped down as Utah's offensive coordinator. He's been the coordinator there since 2019. He was previously there for like 07, 08 or something like that, but it just hasn't been good. Without Cam Rising, Utah's offense has just struggled a lot. And Andy Ludwig has stepped down, and senior offensive analyst Mike, I have no idea how to say his last name, Bajakian, I don't really know, is currently serving as the interim OC. He has been an offensive coordinator before at other schools like Northwestern, Boston College, Tennessee, among other schools. So, I mean, he has experience doing it. We'll see. Northwestern, Boston College, well, I guess it depends on when it was at Boston College, but Northwestern's never really had a good offense, so we'll see. Offensive coordinator Seth Luttrell at Oklahoma has been fired after this was his first season. Didn't even make it through the full season and was fired. So co-offensive coordinator John Finley has been promoted to the play caller. I mean, I think it's a wash this year. I don't expect this offense to get better, I guess. I mean, can't get worse, so it has to be a little better, I guess. But just with the offensive line issues, there's no way that this offense is going to be getting better anytime soon. Maybe next year, but not this year. Some sad news, and I guess this is probably not a shock to most people, but Grayson McCall has announced his retirement from football. Sounds like he is going to try to get into coaching, but just really unfortunate. I don't know if you saw that, his last play. He got destroyed. It was never reviewed, which seemed odd, but it was straight head-to-head. He had to be taken off on a cart, went straight to the hospital. He's done, retiring from football, which is too bad. We'll always remember him at Coastal Carolina with that fun offense, the Mullets, Mullets versus the Mormons. But yeah, it's too bad to see it end that way. Oregon State and Washington State. I love this move. They're playing each other twice in 2025. They said, screw it, we need to try to fill our schedule. We're not really sure how to fill it. Let's just play each other twice, do a home and home in one season. And I love it. Why not? Why not? People are going to bitch and moan about it. I've already seen it on Twitter. I love it. I think it's fantastic. Why not play each other? It fills the schedule up. And honestly, I'm not saying every team should do this, but I wouldn't hate it if a few teams did this every year. Just decided, you know what? Fuck it. Let's play each other twice this year. Don't hate it at all. At the time of this recording, we do have Syracuse and Pitt playing tonight. I don't really have much on that game because by the time this is posted, the game's already going to be over, so I'm not even going to preview it, but I will post a recap of it. But Pitt is the home team, favored by 5.5. Okay, so then let's get into the Friday night games. Louisville at Boston College. Boston College is a 6.5-point dog. Actually, that has now gone up to 7.5-point dog. And man, this is a matchup of two teams who just need to get right. Boston College is on not a great run. Barely beat Western Kentucky when they didn't have Castellanos. Gave up a lead and lost to Virginia, and then got wrecked by Virginia Tech. And Louisville, kind of the same boat. Lost to Notre Dame in a game they probably could have won. Got destroyed by Kevin Jennings in SMU. And then gave up a double-digit lead to Virginia and then had to come from behind to win, which, fantastic that you won. Never should have had to come from behind against Virginia. And then gave up a 50-burger to Miami and lost. Just both teams are looking to get right. And You look at Louisville and you think they probably should be favored. A touchdown does seem right. But when you start to look at their defense, they struggle with mobile quarterbacks. In 5 of their 7 games, the opposing team's leading rusher has been the quarterback. And in those 5 games, the quarterbacks are averaging 81.5 yards a game and over 4 yards per carry. I don't know if you know this, but Castellanos is a mobile quarterback. He's mobile as hell, and he has had positive rushing yards in 5 of the 6 games that he has played this season. And he's shown it in the past seasons that he's also a very good runner. Now, Louisville's offense is going to score. BC's defense is pretty good, but Louisville is going to score. But if Boston College's offense is going to have long drives and keep the ball away from Louisville's not going to be able to score enough to possibly win this game, and they're not going to be able to, until they can prove that they can stop a mobile quarterback. I might be fading Louisville here. And anytime moving forward, until they can prove it, I would also fade Louisville anytime they have to face a mobile quarterback moving forward. It just it has not been pretty. So maybe Louisville wins this game, but it's going to be close because I don't know if they can stop Castellanos. Rutgers at USC. Both of these teams are down bad. USC is a 13.5-point favorite. I mean, I think this is probably going to be a get-right game for USC. I'm firmly on that USC is overrated train, and I'm still on it, but they might win this one. Before the season started, I think I had Rutgers winning this one, but just looking at the state of Rutgers, I don't know if I can do that. USC is probably more down than Rutgers because I guess if we look at preseason hype and expectations, USC's goals, I guess, probably were a little higher. Rutgers will tell you we're aiming for the Big Ten championship. No one believes that they were actually going to play for the Big Ten championship. We thought that they would be, go bowling, have a pretty good season, maybe finish in the top half. So far, it's not looking to be that way. USC has held a lead in the second half or into the fourth quarter in all of their losses this season. They just cannot figure out how to close out games. It's baffling, actually. And Rutgers has been on a 3-game skid. They struggled to find any sort of offensive consistency in the first 2 games of this skid. And then last week, UCLA is not a good team. And they were down 21-10 at home to UCLA at halftime. You can't be down to UCLA at home by that much. And Ethan Garbers just tore up a decimated Rutgers defense. Rutgers does have a lot of injuries, so I kind of am giving them a break there, but Ethan Garbers tore them up. And the offense did start to kind of get some stuff going, but it was too little too late. They made it a game late. They did storm back, but Ethan Garbers just did too much damage to them. And it was insane. I think he threw like 4 incompletions or some shit like that, 300 plus yards, like 3 or 4 touchdowns. It was just not what you expect against a Rutgers defense. I guess we'll see how healthy Rutgers actually is come Saturday, or I guess Friday night. But I think USC uses this as their get right game. All right, let's get into Saturday's games. We'll start with the noon slate, per usual. Nebraska at Ohio State. Ohio State is a 25.5-point favorite at home. Ohio State, it was announced that Josh Simmons, their left tackle, who I don't think he's allowed a sack all year, is out for the season. So that is a big loss. Not ideal to lose your starting left tackle, who was having a great season. But Nebraska just got rolled by Indiana. That wagon rolled right over them. Now, Raiola has been kind of threw 3 interceptions last week. Didn't look good. He is a true freshman. I do think, assuming that he progresses every year, he is going to be really good. You do see the flashes. But they're going to Ohio State to play an Ohio State team that is just pissed off, coming off a bye, and like I said, they're at home. I just don't think Nebraska stands a chance. And again, I think Nebraska is a good team. I'm not shitting on Nebraska that way. I do think they're a good team. It's just they are meeting Ohio State at a terrible time after just getting absolutely rolled by that Indiana wagon. Notre Dame at Navy. Navy is a 12.5-point dog. I think I've even seen 13.5. I think all of America is rooting for Navy. I think you're a communist if you don't root for Navy. And yes, Navy is ranked. I think they're 24th, 25th, something like that. And Navy ain't played nobody, Paul, but it's true. It's true. They haven't. They maybe don't deserve it. I guess I'll say that. But they're undefeated. It's hard to not give them their roses for that. But I think they have played some really bad teams. They've absolutely wrecked them. This is the first good team that they're actually playing this season. And I don't think it's going to go great for them. Now, when you think of Navy traditionally, usually you think triple option, throw the ball maybe 5, 10 times a game, really hold on to that ball and don't allow the other team to have it. But this year they've really, in their standards, I guess, opened up the offense, and they currently have a better passing attack than some Power 4 teams. Michigan and Iowa are ranked worse in passing attack than Navy, which you can't have that happen, Michigan and Iowa. That is just embarrassing. But offensively, these teams are very similar. Navy is ranked 125th. Now, granted, there's only like 133, 34 FBS teams. They're one of the worst, but it's better. They're better than Michigan and Iowa, by the way. That's how bad their passing attack is. Navy is ranked 125th. Notre Dame is ranked 105th. Neither team can really pass the ball very well at all. Navy has the 4th best rushing attack, and Notre Dame has the 18th. They're basically the same team. Now, again, I don't see this going well for Navy. I don't. Unfortunately, Notre Dame just does have too much talent. Yes, they have injuries on defense and whatnot, but I guess we did say the same thing about Northern Illinois. There was no reason no way that Northern Illinois was going to beat Notre Dame, but they did. So I guess there is a chance. I guess I can't say that there's no chance. There is a chance, and we're all rooting for Navy. I know you are. Everybody is. You have to be. Like I said, you're a commie if you're not. I just don't think that Navy wins, unfortunately. Washington at Indiana, -6.5. Favorite for Indiana. Curtis Rourke is out. Not ideal. He has been playing amazing. Had surgery on his thumb. Definitely not playing this week. And I'm just going to go out on a limb and guess that he's not playing next week either. Now, Curtis Rourke being out long term, a worry, definitely. This week, I don't think it's really a worry because I just don't think Washington can do it. They have too many issues going on. This Indiana defense is going to shut them down. Now, I'm going to put some respect on Indiana. You probably are thinking you've been doing it all year. But I am bumping them up from a mini wagon to now just a full-blown wagon. Indiana's a wagon. The way they treated Notre Dame last week, they're just a full-blown wagon now. Just absolutely dominated both sides of the ball. Nebraska looked terrible. And I know Nebraska's a decent team, and they looked terrible. Now, some will say Nebraska still, because before Nebraska, Indiana hadn't played anybody. They ain't played nobody, Paul. And you can argue that Nebraska is still a nobody. Washington's a nobody too then. And I think this wagon is just going to continue to roll. Like I said, Curtis Rourke is out. Taven Jackson is starting. I don't think it matters. Washington has had a terrible red zone offense, and their field goal kicking has been atrocious. So unless they can figure out a way, because they're already halfway through the season, if they haven't figured it out yet, I don't know if they will moving forward. Now, they are coming off a bye, so who knows, but until they can fix both of those issues, this wagon just keeps on rolling. We got Oklahoma at Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a 20.5-point favorite. Oklahoma fired their offensive coordinator, like I mentioned earlier. So like I said, I guess their offense can't get worse because it's already pretty much the worst. And this defense is good. Don't let people tell you otherwise. I think I've heard a Brandon Walker out there talking shit about their defense. Now, I'm not a huge Oklahoma fan by any means, but that defense does deserve some respect. Don't listen to they allowed 35 points last week to South Carolina. That's very deceiving because 14 of those points came on turnovers. That Oklahoma defense is good. Again, there's been a few games like that game. I guarantee by the end they just gave up. Texas game, I think they gave up. Why are we hurting ourselves when our offense we know is not going to do shit? Maybe that's a terrible attitude, but I wouldn't be shocked if that happened. Ole Miss's offensive line has struggled this year a lot. Has not been great. That's how teams have been able to beat Ole Miss is by just destroying that offensive line. And Oklahoma's defense is good enough to make it difficult for Ole Miss. Like I said, Oklahoma does have a good defense. That defensive line is good. Ole Miss offensive line is not. Now, other side of the ball, Ole Miss defense is just going to make that. There's nothing that Oklahoma's going to be able to do on offense. It's just, like I said, it can't get worse, but that offensive line is just going to get destroyed by Ole Miss pass rush. Arnold, Hawkins, whoever the fuck is starting is going to be running for their life because that's just life as an Oklahoma quarterback. Oklahoma's defense, if they just don't give up because they know the offense is scoring, if they don't give up, they'll cover this spread. But that give up factor, it's looming large. I don't think Ole Miss loses this game. I don't think they're ever in danger of losing, even if it's close-ish, even if they do cover the 20.5 point spread. I still don't think Ole Miss is ever going to be in danger of losing. You will finish that game and be like, yeah, I was never worried. Georgia Tech at Virginia Tech started as a 9.5, went up to 10.5. I may have seen that it dropped back down. I would have to double check that now. If Haynes King plays, they win. Georgia Tech wins. If he doesn't, they lose. And I stand firm on that. Now, I'm pretty sure Brent Key came out today and may have said something like, if the game was today, Thursday night, he would not be playing. But he is still day-to-day moving forward. That does not make me feel confident that he's going to play this weekend. So if he doesn't play, I don't think that they're going to win. Pyron didn't look good last week. I think Zach Pyron or whatever his name is didn't look good. Virginia Tech will win this if that happens. Now, Georgia Tech does have a good offensive line and a very good rushing attack. Pyron is a rushing quarterback, so, I mean, there is that factor. But if he has no threat throwing the ball, Virginia Tech's just going to sell out for the run. Now, Virginia Tech has struggled to defend the run. So, I mean, there is that. But if they're selling out to defend it, it's going to be hard to be bad at it, I guess. Flip to the opposite side of the ball. Georgia Tech does have a good defense. Virginia Tech has struggled to move the ball through the air, but has found a ton of success on the ground. So this is going to just be kind of a run-heavy game, low scoring. If Haynes King plays, Georgia Tech will win. Georgia Tech usually plays close games and keeps it muddy and gross and yucky, except last week against Notre Dame. But again, it all depends on the health of Haynes King, and it doesn't sound like he's going to play. So if he's out, Virginia Tech wins. Afternoon games, Minnesota Minute. But before we do that, let's take a quick smoke break. All right. Minnesota Minute. Maryland is coming to Minnesota. I think it's homecoming. Minnesota is a 4.5 point favorite. Now, earlier this year, Gophers were they were on my dead list. They were on dead watch. And then they almost completed that comeback against Michigan. They beat USC. They beat UCLA. And now you look at the rest of their schedule, and they could win 3 to 4 of their final 5 games. It is possible that they could win 3 to 4 of those final 5 games. Penn State's going to be difficult. I don't think they're going to win that game. Illinois is also going to be difficult. It's not that it's not doable. That is going to be difficult. But Maryland, Rutgers, Wisconsin, all very beatable. And I've said it before, Maryland has not been good in the Big Ten. Now, they did have a comeback last week against USC. I mean, USC's not very good. They're very overrated, and they just can't close out games for whatever reason. I'm saying it right now. I know this is not a USC game. We talked about them. Lincoln Riley's gone at the end of the year. There's no way he's not. Whether it's by his own doing or he gets fired, he's gone. And I've said that before. That's not new. Again, I shared the record, Maryland's record in the Big Ten since they joined. It's terrible. It's bad. They're always good in August and September, conveniently, when they don't play Big Ten teams. And then in October, November, they just have the most atrocious record. Again, coming off a huge win against USC is a plus, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. A win's a win. You can't complain. Can't complain. Maryland has one of the worst pass defenses and one of the best run defenses in the country, so this is going to be a very heavy Max Brosmer game. Expect a lot of dink and dunks to Darius Taylor, a lot of jet sweeps if they can do it, just getting the ball in his hands. I don't know if they're going to be running it a whole bunch because they haven't even been that great in the run game. Now, Maryland has a top 10 passing attack, which this is going to be probably, I guess USC. So the Gophers have, you could argue that this is a better passing attack than USC, honestly, but we won't get into that right now. Minnesota has a top 5 pass defense, and they've proven it against USC that they can stop the passing game. Now, leading up to that USC game, they had not played a good passing attack. So I guess USC is really the only challenge that they've had through the air. Ethan Garbers, I guess you could argue. So this is going to be a real test for Minnesota's secondary. I think they're good enough to handle it. Now, we have seen Minnesota struggle to put a full 60 minutes together. Struggled in the first half of games. Can't do that. Can't get behind to Maryland and let them just throw all over you. I don't see that happening. Like I said, I think the secondary is good enough to prevent that. Max Brosmer, he is just going to dink and dunk and throw all over this defense. And let's be honest, Maryland's going to cough with the ball a couple times. Minnesota's defense is good enough to do that. I think Minnesota wins this game easily. I think they cover the 4.5 now. I'm not putting it as that as my 5 favorites, so that's just my own little side thing there, because anytime I put Minnesota on my 5 faves, they fuck me. So I think Minnesota covers easily. They could win by 2 scores, honestly. I really think they can, and I think they will. That's my Minnesota Minute. Illinois at Oregon. Disrespectful. They are disrespecting Illinois. I'm not saying Illinois is going to win this game, but they are disrespecting Illinois. Oregon is a 3-touchdown favorite at home, and they are disrespecting Illinois. We saw what Illinois did to Penn State. They went to Happy Valley, played a night game during their whiteout, and lost 21-7. And it was 14-7 for the longest time in that game. Now, again, you watch that game and you never really thought that Illinois was actually going to win that game. But they still only lost 21-7. And again, it was 14-7 for most of the game. It was a 1-score game for a while. 21.5 points is disrespectful to Illinois. Illinois is a good team. Now, Oregon is a better team. Don't get me wrong. They are a better team. But they're not necessarily 3 touchdowns better. Again, we saw it with Penn State. I'm high on Penn State. People are down on Penn State because of their loss to USC. Not their loss, their comeback to USC, and they shouldn't have been down. Whatever. I'm high on Penn State. Illinois, Penn State was a close game. Again, Oregon fans, I've seen it on Twitter. You think your stadium is so loud and so great, and I'm not saying it's not, because it's a decent-sized stadium and you guys do get loud. But Penn State also has a huge stadium, and they do get very loud. So this is not going to be that tough of an environment for Illinois. They're going to be used to this shit. Again, it's at no point does Oregon probably think they're going to lose this game if you watch it. I think they're going to win the game. I just think 21.5 points is disrespectful to Illinois. Oregon's a top 20 team in yards allowed and yards gained. I get that. You can make all the arguments you want. 21.5 points is disrespectful. Missouri at Alabama. This opened at 13.5. It is now up to 16.5, and I think I've also seen 17.5. And I wouldn't be shocked if it went up just a little bit more. And I'm so torn on this game because you've heard it, and I've been nervous about it all season, that Mizzou was going to be the Ole Miss from last year, where every week I say they're overrated, and every week they just laugh in my face and keep on winning. And Mizzou lost that game, and I thought it was over. I thought that the wheels were coming off, and then they were down to Bama, and I was really feeling it, and I was, not Bama, Auburn, and I was really feeling it, and then Brady Cook comes back and leads them to a win and just has me nervous again that they are going to be last year's Ole Miss. So I don't want Mizzou to win. But I also really don't want Bama to win because it would be so funny. Bama fans are melting down. Tennessee's pumping in crowd noise. This is why we lost. That's why we lost. Excuse. It's fantastic. I love it. They are in shambles. It's so funny to watch. Bama fans, and don't get mad at me, you have had years of being on top. You can take 1 year of just being pretty good instead of great. Just once, 1 year. Please just accept it for 1 year. Give the rest of us a chance. So I really am torn on this game on who I want to win. Now, also, if they lost this game, let's be honest, DeBoer would be gone. Not this year, not after this game, but the fans would be so out on him, it would be hilarious. But I don't think Bama loses this game. Now, it's come out that Mizzou's leading rusher, Noel, is not playing, and Brady Cook is doubtful. We saw it. Brady Cook didn't play when he wasn't in. It was rough. It was very rough. Drew Pine, who is in the same recruiting class as Brady Cook, looked like a freshman out there. He looked so lost against Auburn. It was rough. Now, obviously, I get it. You give him a whole week of game planning, and he's going to look a lot better. I'm not stupid. I know that. But he did not look good. The offense did not look good. Sure, it's going to look better again after a week of preparing, but if Brady Cook is not 100%, which sounds like he's doubtful for the game, I don't think Mizzou is winning this game. And the overrated train continues. Sure, you could say it doesn't count because Cook is out, but the overrated train continues. And let's be honest, this is going to be the biggest test for Mizzou's defense. They really haven't faced a very good offense this year. I mean, they faced some all right ones, but this is going to be the best offense they've faced. And their offense, sure, they'll get some points because Bama is going to commit some stupid penalties and whatnot, but it's not going to be a good game for Mizzou. Texas Tech at TCU. So TCU is a 6.5 point favorite at home. We got two offenses that like to score a lot of points now. TCU didn't score that many against Utah, got not that many against Houston, so they've kind of had some down games. But in the end, they still know how to score, and Texas Tech does not have a good defense. Now, TCU kind of has had a good defense of late. Not really. I mean, they faced Utah, whose offensive coordinator just stepped down because they can't figure out the offense. So I'm not really going to TCU's defense. I'm still out on. I think basically whoever defense can make a stop or two is going to win this game. I think that's probably going to be TCU's defense, but I really like the over in this game. I'll just say it. I've already said it earlier this year. You always bet the over in TCU games. Since I said that, there's only been one game that hasn't gone over. I think this could be a fun one. Both teams are averaging more than 30 points a game, and TCU is ranked 91st in points allowed, and Texas Tech is ranked 124th. So like I said, this is going to be a high-scoring game, and it's going to be fun. So if you want a fun shootout with little defense, turn this game on because it's going to be a blast. Texas at Vandy. I mean, we already saw this before. I mean, we'll see. Vandy is a 18.5-point underdog at home. It would be funny. It would be very funny if Vandy won. Again, I don't think it's going to happen, but it would be very funny if Vandy won. Now, Vandy just needs to win one of their final 5 games to make a bowl, which is huge for them. Now, granted, it's not a very easy schedule because they face Texas this week. Then they also still have to face LSU and Tennessee. So it's not an easy schedule. But they do play South Carolina and Auburn, both of which are winnable games. So chances are Vandy makes a bowl this year, guys, which is fantastic. I'm happy for them. I love that Vandy's having a good year. It's nice to see the little guys win once in a while. You know what I mean? Now, again, it would be funny if Vandy won this game. I just don't think the magic is going to stick around. Now, I think they're probably going to get a good turnout of fans. Just because they're winning now and they beat Bama. Why aren't they going to beat Texas? And I guess why not? Why can't they? But Texas is a different animal than the teams they face so far, even Bama. Now, Vandy makes every game a close game. If you watch Vandy games, they have a game plan going into every game, and they are very good at executing it. They are just outside the top 10 in time of possession. They are averaging the ball like 35 minutes a game, which, do the math, that means they have the ball for 10 minutes more than the other team. That's 10 minutes less that your offense can do something if you're the other team. It's a lot. Look at the Alabama game. They had the ball for like 41 and change, 42 and change, which means Bama had the ball for less than 20 minutes that game. And they still scored 30-something points, but still didn't win the game. Vandy, very good at executing these game plans. They are 5-2, and 2 of those losses, go and look, in both of those losses, Vandy lost the time of possession battle. If Texas wants to absolutely guarantee this win, they just need to stop Vandy on third down or just win the time of possession. You do well on third down. Vandy is in the top 10. So they're just outside the top 10 in time of possession, and usually that coincides. If you're in the top 10 or near the top 10 in TOP, you're probably very good at third down conversions. And surprise, surprise, Vandy is top 10 in third down conversions. Now, Texas is also top 10 in third down defense, so this is honestly, I'm kind of excited for this game. Again, maybe they cover because, like I said, they muddy the game up. They always keep it close. So there is a very good chance that Vandy covers. I don't think they pull off the upset. All right, let's get into the evening games. Start with West Virginia at Arizona. Arizona started as a 2.5-point favorite that has risen to a 3.5-point favorite for Arizona. Arizona is overrated. I've said it all year. And, there were people going into the season that thought Arizona was going to be pretty good. The offense was going to be electric. And instead, Arizona is 3-4, and Noah Fafita has been average. I've said it. I've given the stats. He relies too much on McMillan. Like I said, 45% of his passing yards, 30% of his completions, yada, yada. I'm sure that's changed since last week, but whatever. You get the point. West Virginia, on the other hand, I guess they also had high hopes going into the season because of last year. Neil Brown's seat went from hot to cool, probably back to hot now. I think the fans are starting to get restless because this season has not been great. Their defense, absolute doo-doo. And the offense has been up and down, especially in the passing game. And they have one of the worst pass defenses in the country. West Virginia can't cover for shit. And as I pointed out before, Arizona, Noah Fafita loves to throw the ball. This might be one of those games that he can just throw it to McMillan all game long. We watched McMillan go off for 100 plus, 200 yards and a couple touchdowns. We've seen it before. This could be that game. I mean, yeah, if West Virginia can't get after the quarterback, even with the injuries that Arizona's had, and, a little side note, West Virginia has been very bad at getting after the quarterback. Arizona's probably going to pull this one out. That's really the only way unless they just magically figure out how to cover the receivers and stop McMillan, they got to get after Fafita. And if they can't do that and they can't stop McMillan, this is game over. I do think that these teams, are pretty evenly matched. I just think Arizona's biggest strength on offense is sadly what West Virginia sucks at, and they're one of the worst at it in the country. I started this week, as soon as I saw the line, the numbers, I went, West Virginia, easy. Arizona, overrated. But as we start to get later into the week, I think I lean Arizona in this one. Florida State at Miami. This started as a Miami 21.5 point favorite that has now gone down to 20.5. This Miami defense, these last 3 games, has given up a lot of explosive plays. Now, the offense had a few slow starts in those games, but eventually got rolling and started clicking. So I'm not too worried about the offense. But that defense has allowed too many explosive plays. But lucky for them, those teams were significantly better than Florida State. And this Florida State team is just so bad. And offensively, they are just not good. Just not good. At least on the bright side, if you are a Florida State fan, you will at least double your wins by the end of the season. I think you play like Charleston or Southern Charleston. I don't know. You play some small team that there's no way you're going to lose to, and if you do, it would just be funny. But actually, I don't even know if it would be funny. It would just be sad at this point. This is a broken team. They are just ready for the season to be done. They are. And their offensive line is so bad, and Miami's defensive line is good. They are pretty good, and they are going to have an absolute day. And like I said, Miami's offense, they've gotten off to some slow starts, but in the end, they've always figured it out and got it going. I'm not worried about their offense in this one either. They are going to continue to roll. Florida State's offense is terrible. The defense is not good. Miami's just going to absolutely steamroll them. Penn State at Wisconsin. Wisconsin is a 6.5 point home dog. Wisconsin is 5-2. Those 2 losses were to Bama and USC. The quarterbacks of those teams, Miller-Moss, pretty good quarterbacks, absolutely tore Wisconsin up. Since those were back-to-back games, they've rattled off 3 wins to get to 5-2. Now they beat a terrible Purdue team. They beat a Rutgers team that has been injured and at the time just could not figure out how to get their offense rolling. And Northwestern, who is starting somebody at quarterback. I don't know if they are anymore, but at the time was starting a quarterback named Jack Lausch. Wisconsin has not played anybody scary the last 3 weeks. They haven't played any great quarterbacks by any means. Sorry, Ethan Kaliakmanis, I've been your biggest supporter, but you're not a great quarterback. Drew Aller is a pretty good quarterback. And we've already seen the trend. When Wisconsin has to play a good quarterback, they get absolutely tore up. Now, that doesn't mean that Wisconsin's a bad team, even if I do think that they are. It's just, we've seen it. They play a good quarterback, they're done for. Penn State is coming off a bye after a crazy come-from-behind win at USC, which, like I said earlier, everybody's down on Penn State because, you guys came from behind, you were down by so much, you guys were a joke, yada, yada. I didn't look at it that way. I saw it as a good thing for Penn State moving forward. Again, going into a bye, I thought it was even better, and I think coming out of this bye, Penn State's going to be scary. Now, the strengths of both of these teams, defense. Definitely the defense. Penn State's offense is very good, though, and they are much more explosive than Wisconsin's offense has been. Now, I will say, ever since Ches Malusi went down with an injury and then left the team, Tawee Walker, I don't even know how to say his name, ever since he took over the starting role, Wisconsin has found some success in the run game. So Wisconsin has started to kind of get it rolling. I don't think it's going to be enough, though, against Penn State. Like I said, this Penn State defense is very good. Penn State offense is also very good. And I think it's just going to be too good for Wisconsin. Like I said, when they face a good quarterback, they crumble and they get tore up. Wisconsin is 5-2 right now, and honestly, looking at the rest of their schedule, they may finish the season 6-6 or 7-5. At least you will go bowling. You're probably going to lose 3 or 4 more games, including this one. LSU at A&M. A&M started as a 3.5-point favorite. That has now gone down to 2.5. I've seen the video circulating how, I don't even know if it was this week. I saw some people say it was the summer. I don't actually know. Basically, Garrett Nussmeier saying Kyle Field's not that loud, or it's loud, but it's nothing like Death Valley. I mean, he's probably not wrong, but dude, don't be saying that. People are just going to be using that. Now, if you beat them, it's fine. It shuts them up. But I'm excited for this game. I really am. Offensively, these teams are very different. Both have great offensive lines, so that's good for both teams. But LSU is a pass-heavy attack, where A&M is a very run-heavy attack. So like I said, 2 very different teams. And neither team is particularly great at defending the pass, which leans in LSU's favor because Texas A&M's pass offense has not been great. Been very up and down. Connor Wegman has shown some flashes, but overall has not been great. And both teams are very good at stopping the run, which does not bode well for Texas A&M because, like I said, run-heavy attack. A&M did open the season with a loss to Notre Dame and have since won 6 straight. But their best win, I think, is technically Mizzou, even though I personally think Mizzou is very overrated, as I've made abundantly clear. Some may argue, I don't know who else would be better, but Arkansas, maybe, I guess. I don't know. Mizzou's, I guess, technically the best win, but I don't think it's a great win. And LSU has kind of done the same thing. They lost the season opener, and has currently on a 6-game win streak. But unlike A&M, LSU has at least one good win. Now, depending on who you root for, you're probably going to disagree with this, but we saw them take on Ole Miss and win in overtime, and I think that's a good win for LSU. Now, Kyle Field is going to be a tough place. It is. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be loud, and they're going to be extra fired up because that video, like I said, has been circulating. And A&M does have a chance in this game, but if they want a chance to win this game, they need to get in Nussmeier's face and hit him a few times. He has been fantastic at avoiding sacks. The offensive line is very good too, so that's been a huge plus too. But he has also been very good at avoiding sacks. And I think he's only been sacked twice this year. If you can't hit Nussmeier and can't get into the backfield and disrupt him and get in his face, it's going to be a long night for A&M. Kansas at Kansas State. I've seen this line at 9.5 in Kansas State's favor. I've also seen it up to 10.5. Depends on where you look. I guess technically you got to throw away the records when these teams play because it is a rivalry game. So don't look at their records. Don't look at that. Kansas is 2-5 and Kansas State's 6-1. Don't look at that. I still have a hard time backing Kansas. Take away the records, I have a hard time backing them. Neither team has a deadly passing attack. The rushing attack is definitely the strength of both these teams. They are both top 15 in rush per game. Rushing yards per game, holy shit. But neither team, like I said, has a deadly passing attack. But Jalen Daniels, Avery Johnson, they are coming off of their best passing games of the season. Now, on Avery Johnson's side, he did go against one of the worst pass defenses. So, he went off for like 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. We'll see if that's going to be a trend the rest of the season for them. Avery Johnson, I don't know, but Jalen Daniels, you had your best game of the season last week. You're going up against a terrible pass defense this week. This might be a way to keep the momentum going and maybe win a couple more games the rest of the year. Get that momentum working. This is the game to do it. Now, like I said, rushing attack is definitely the strength of both of these teams. Kansas State does have a great run defense. Kansas does not. So if Kansas cannot stop the three-headed rushing attack that is led by Giddens and then Johnson and then Edwards, it could be a long game for them. And if they do stop the rushing attack, they cannot let Avery Johnson go off. Now, again, he went off last week, best passing game of the year. It was against West Virginia. Can't let him go off, can't let him gain that confidence if you want to win this game. I do think this game will be close. I don't want to bet on Kansas State to cover because I honestly think Kansas could cover. They've made a lot of games close this year. But I cannot back Kansas to win. All right, SMU at Duke. Duke is 11.5-point underdogs at home. I kind of see why, because it is Kevin Jennings' world and we are just living in it. Ever since he was named the official starter, this offense has exploded and he has continually gotten better every week. Now, granted, they have not had to play the hardest defenses. Stanford, Louisville, FSU, TCU have not faced the scariest of defenses. Duke's defense is going to be the toughest that they've had to face in well over a month. Now, Kevin Jennings is going to be without his top receiver as R.J. Maryland is out for the year, leads the team in receptions, yards, touchdowns. So that is going to be a huge loss. So we will see how he manages without him. We'll see how it goes. But the offense has exploded under Kevin Jennings. Now, vice versa, Duke has not had to go up against a scary offense all year. Their defense has not had to. The toughest offense this Duke defense has had to try to shut down is Georgia Tech. I guess technically UNC would be the toughest as they are 38th in total offense, but nothing too scary. Offensively, Duke has not been good. They are 111th in total offense, which, in case you didn't know, that's really bad. Now, this SMU defense they haven't been great, but they've been good enough. They've been pretty decent. They have only one loss. Now, I think the lack of firepower on offense for Duke, plus having Kevin Jennings leading the attack against your defense, it's going to be a little too much for Duke. Now, like I said, R.J. Maryland's out. We'll see how SMU handles that, but I think SMU continues to roll. I'm not going to say that they cover, but I do think that they continue to roll. And if you look at the rest of their schedule, they may finish the season 11-1, 10-2. I know a lot of people thought that they were going to have a great first year in the ACC, but it looks like it might happen. All right, we got Cincinnati at Colorado. Colorado is a 5.5-point favorite. And honestly, I kind of expect this to be a little bit of an offensive game just because we know Colorado is going to score. They have a great passing attack, bad rush attack, terrible offensive line, but they do have a good passing attack. Defensively, not so good against the run, all right against the pass. We know what Colorado is. Cincinnati, if they want to win this game, they obviously need to get after Shedeur, which they've been all right at this year, but again, Colorado's offensive line has been doo-doo, so it shouldn't be too hard. They need to get after Shedeur, but what they really need to do, manage that clock. They are a top team in time of possession, and I think if they can find success in the run game, which I already said it, Colorado is terrible at run defense. Run the ball, eat up that clock, keep Colorado's offense on the sidelines, and get after Shedeur, because, again, you probably don't have to try too hard to do that. That offensive line is just terrible. You could pull off the upset here, and I think it would be very funny if you did. Cincinnati's offense is pretty good. Brandon Sorsby is pretty good. I think if they can sustain some long drives, keep Colorado's offense on the sidelines, they could do this. Colorado's overrated. All right, let's get into some bets. Positive attitude, winning mindset. We're turning it around this week. It's going to happen. Now, I've conceded. I've lost. I'm not going to win this competition against my buddy. It's just not happening. So I am saying from this point forward, I will beat him. Overall competition done. Midway to the end, I'm going to kick his ass. My five faves this week. I got Bama minus 16.5 at minus 118. I mean, for everything I said earlier, Mizzou's missing their top rusher. Brady Cook's out. They've already struggled to have their offense finish drives. It's Bama wins. Easy. Ohio State minus 25.5, minus 110. Coming off a bye. At home against Nebraska, who just got absolutely rolled over by a wagon. You're pissed off. You lost to Oregon. You're just going to steamroll this poor Nebraska team. Illinois plus 21.5. Just the disrespect at putting Illinois as a 3-touchdown underdog to Oregon, like they haven't had to face a tough environment yet. Now that is at minus 115, but disrespectful. Penn State minus 6.5, minus 115 at Wisconsin. Again, Wisconsin, anytime they've had to face a quarterback worth of shit, they get absolutely tore up. It's going to happen again this week. And then I got TCU, Texas Tech, over 66.5 at minus 112. Both teams average over 30 points a game. The defenses aren't good. How do you not expect them to go more than 66.5? Couple honorable mentions. I have 4 this week. Oregon State plus 9.5 at plus 100. I mean, Cal has just had a rough month. Similar to Louisville, similar to Boston College, except I think Cal's has been worse. They've held the lead. They couldn't quite pull it off against Florida State, giving them their only win of the year. Led up a comeback from... I think it was obviously Miami. I think Pitt was one as well. Your kicker missed last-second field goals, or I guess last 2-minute field goals that would have put you in the lead. Just kicking woes, giving up leads. It's just been a depressing time for Cal. And I think Oregon State is going to continue that. I'm not going to say that they're going to win, but they're going to cover 9.5. Penn State team total over 27.5 at minus 114. Again, anytime Wisconsin's had to face a quarterback worth of shit, they get tore up. Penn State scores 4 touchdowns, no problem. Texas Tech team total over 29.5. Again, these teams average over 30 points a game. TCU's defense is not that great. Texas Tech's offense is good. They're going to score 30 points. Are you kidding me? Utah, Houston, under 36.5, minus 105. Defense is the strength of both of these teams. The offense has struggled when they've had to go against good defenses. This is going to be an ugly game. And then the Power 4 Moneyline Parlay, I got Bama, Penn State, SMU, Kansas State. I understand the odds are probably a lot higher. I just need a winner. Those 4 plus 147. Those are my 5 faves. Positive attitude, winning mindset. We will turn this around. Thank you all for joining me. It's going to be a good weekend of college football. I'm really excited. I think this is going to hopefully it lives up to the hype. And I'll talk to you guys on Monday to recap.